Welcome to Global Morning this amazing Friday. This is Global Television. We're live in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Such an amazing time to be alive, don't you think? Again, time moves at the speed of light. It's Friday already. The other day was Monday, 5 days down the line. Incidentally, the business week comes to an end today. Again, as always, we appreciate you for making a very important decision to stay with us here on the program. As always, quite a number of things to talk about on the program today, including some of the biggest stories from not just Nigeria, but from across the world during the week. We also need to look at which of them have developed pretty fast the last couple of days, especially if we were to start from Kano State, when we understand that the governor, Abba Kabir Yusuf, has now intervened in the case of the woman who, alongside her 6 children, got murdered. Paid a visit to the family, essentially the husband yesterday, quite sadly. Again, another very disturbing story. The governor spent some time there with the bereaved man, husband and father, prayed with them. But then on top of all of that, he made a pledge on behalf of the state government that the charge of, if you like, the cost for Hajj and Umrah for the man will be funded by the state government. Also promised supports of all kinds, as the man will require on account of these very painful, if you like, incident that has happened to the state right now. Quite painful. But we also have other stories, several other things to talk about here on the program today, including, if you like, how the Tinubu-led government is faring now, especially on the front of the economy. We'll look at that for you, and of course, we talk business in the course of Global Morning today. Please stay with us. The rest of the show will be unpacked after this short break.
New Imo is on the rise. In the beating heart of Owerri, business never sleeps. From sunrise to sundown, the wheels keep turning. And behind the scenes, vision meets action. Governor Hope Uzodinma's leadership has left the pages of manifestos to become real actions and achievements. Transformations that piece by piece feels like a miracle. But progress needs peace to thrive, and in Imo, we are not leaving it to chance. From land to sky to river deep, guardians are always watching, protecting dreams and opportunities. If you go to the quiet shore of Orashi Power, you will see the awakening of a hydropower roaring to electrify and energize a blossoming economy. The change is visible. The heartland of the East is under construction as new roads are threading together once forgotten places. Industry is humming again and communities are alive. At the center of it all, a digital revolution is rising. A new ministry with a new mission. Not just cables and codes, but capacity. 500,000 young minds trained each year to build a digital future. And as Orashi power goes up, so does Imo, lifting with it the hopes of a hard-working people. A new
Well, again, we have to turn to Kaduna State, where we understand more than 150 worshippers had been abducted in the course of church services on Sunday. Just yesterday, we brought you a story about the reaction from the chairman of Christians in northern Nigeria, who also said that it is now beyond any reasonable doubt that that abduction or those abductions had actually taken place as against denial by the police earlier, which again, the police have also come to confirm right now. But beyond all of that, the question now is what modalities are being put in place to ensure the safe return of these persons. Before now, the conversation would always be around the calls for the unconditional release of these people who have been kidnapped for the 5th day running. But as it stands today, we understand very interestingly, as has been the case for some years now, the terrorists are now asking for 29 million naira deposits to enable them start or further negotiations with the community and, of course, by extension, the church and who knows, the government itself. But again, that is one part of it that is very disturbing, how that human life now seems to be a commodity that can be negotiated, that people can haggle over. And to even think that just this same January, there had been a kidnap in that same community where we are told several millions were also paid by way of ransom, carried in bags, in cash, just to ensure that those who had been kidnapped were released unhurt. But this has become a cycle, a jinx that many people or every right-thinking person in and outside of this country agrees that must be broken. And government says we are working hard to break it. In fact, we are even partnering with different other countries to ensure that terrorism of any kind, criminality of any kind in this country becomes a thing of the past. Perhaps that's the basis on which the U.S. again has intervened now and telling the government, look, you must do something to ensure the safe release of these people. But then the question is, what makes it so challenging or a daunting task for us to end the issue of terrorism? We understand that several hundreds of those who have either been apprehended by the government for funding or being practically involved and running these kidnaps and killing rings are being lined up for trial now by the federal government. But beyond all of that, what measures are we putting in place to de-incentivize the, if you like, this trade? Because there's a reason people get into it. What are the factors that drive interests in people, young people in particular, joining these criminal gangs? Yes, we've heard stories. They are from offshore. They are from beyond our borders. Our borders are very porous, and so on and so forth. Between then and now, at a point we heard Nigeria had at least 126 porous borders, end to end, that is across the country. What have we done to effectively man those borders? That's important. Second, the issue of fifth columnists, those who are treacherous, those who are saboteurs within the military, within the police, for example, even within the communities themselves. What are we doing to also check all of those? It's quite a humongous work that must be done by government, by the military, by the police, and indeed by the people. But we must find a way to ensure that we bring all of these to an end. But we can't continue to explain it away because that will not solve the problem. We're taking a break now. The program continues shortly. Please stay with us. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
All right, well, what more can we say? Several issues this morning to talk about, including the federal government's plan now to for want of better words, abolish the HND factor in our tertiary education system so that polytechnics can now award degrees. We'll talk about all of those real quick, but this morning joining us, I was going to say a celebrity from Nollywood, but that won't be the case. I'm saying that because of a bit of a wardrobe malfunction just a while ago, but Jumai Manson is here, everyone. Jumai, good to see you.
It's great to see
I was going to say happy Friday. I don't know if that works.
Happy Friday. And I was almost caught up in the moment because, hey, well, it happens, right?
It does.
But it's great to be here. Good morning, Uyi Agbomofoigbe. You had to tell the whole world about the wardrobe malfunction,
Well,
right?
I didn't go into details.
No, you did not. But it's great to be here. To each and every one of you out there, good morning. It's a fantastic Friday. They say it's TGIF, right?
It is.
Thank God it's Friday. And of course, you've been talking. I've been listening to you talk all about education and all of that encompassed, which is fantastic, by the way. And you did mention the out-of-school children going back to school. There's so many of them that we have around. But of course, we know it's all for the greater good of Nigeria and, of course, Nigerians, very importantly. So we should have that at the back of our minds.
And now that you mentioned out-of-school children, that's quite a big challenge that we need to deal with. I remember in 2014, I did a special report on out-of-school children. A state commissioner for higher education at the time expressed how that the numbers were not looking good because at that time, so 12 years ago, we're looking at some 11 million out-of-school children in our country. But today we hear that number has spiked quite astronomically. We're now doing between 18.5 and 20 million.
That's a lot.
Children out of school. And for a country that first wants to become, wants to hit a $30 trillion economy by 2030, that is a bad market, as I say.
Yes, it is.
For a country that wants to lead not just Africa, but the rest of the world at some point, it's a disadvantage already.
Yes, it is.
For a country that wants to be able to drive science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM, which is now the model for education across the globe going forward, it also means that we have a lot of work on our hands.
Yes, we do. And that means the education sector has a lot of work in its hands. Because for as much as health is important, I always talk about various sectors like health in which we're hammering and clamoring on. Education too, from the lowest to the highest is very important. Out of school children, we see the Almajiris out there. We see a lot of children who do a lot of menial jobs. They hawk and they're supposed to be in school. So the education sector has a lot on its hands when it has to looking at this particular, because it is a menace in the society. Because there's a saying that goes, an idle man is the devil's workshop. And these children will eventually grow to be teenagers, young adults, and we do not want them to be a menace in our society. That's why we see so much criminality. And that is why that sector is very important. Once a child is educated, he looks he looks up to the future, what the future can bring. He realizes that there is hope. He realizes that if he puts his mind to it, no knowledge is a waste, by the way. So it's very important that that particular sector has a lot of work to do in his hands. In fact, the numbers are rising by the day, and it's just unfortunate. For as much as we need to curb, all sectors are important, but there are some that just take more preference than others, really.
You know, is at this point we must not only crunch the numbers, as they say in data science, we must also now look at what are the factors that prevent young people, children, from going to school. We must look at all those. At the point we saw a couple of state governments saying that children must not be seen in uniform hawking.
Yes.
Children must not be seen anywhere else within,
School hours. Yes.
Anywhere else aside school, Monday to Friday, unless of course if schools are on break. We saw all of that, but most times they look like, those moves, they look like some sort of knee-jerk reaction by state governors or state governments because they are not sustainable.
No.
You may have a good intention, an amazing plan in place, or if you like, a goal, but is it sustainable? Is the reason in development we talk about sustainable planning, not just planning. It has to be sustainable.
Yes.
If you go back to those states 10, 15 years down the line, for example, are those plans still in place? Are they still being pursued by successive administrations? The answer is capital letter no. So first of all, what are the reasons children stay away from school? Some people say, well, most times it's the distance between home and school.
Yes.
There's that. Then there's the issue of poverty, which is probably the number one underpinning factor, right? So when, again, that's the irony. You hear state governments saying we've now made school free. It's now free education and blah blah blah. But you are asking yourself, how do we define free in this context?
Yes.
What is free? Is it the tuition that is free? Is it the
books?
Essential supplies, books,
Exactly.
writing materials, what have you? Is that what is free? How do we incentivize education? In other words, how do we make parents see that they have a duty of care, as we say, to send their children to school? Plus, is government sincere, absolutely sincere, when it says education is now free? I remember I spoke with somebody in the US, that was in 2008. He was supposed to send money to his mom, and I asked why he hadn't sent money to his mom. He said, well, it's not like he forgot, that he was trying to attend to his children's tuition first. That in the state where he lived, if you failed, if government established that you failed to send your children to school, you will end up in jail most likely. So, this was in 2008. 18 years down the line, it makes me wonder what kind of thinking went into such a policy or such a system, right? We must rethink education. We can't continue to look at the number. Okay, now we're here talking about these numbers on Global Morning. What are subnationals, the state governments, the local governments doing about it?
Exactly.
What is the plan of the Federal Ministry of Education to cut down these numbers in 3 years, in 5 years, or in 10 years? Those are the questions we must answer.
Of course, and then we have to look at the monitoring committee. Monitoring committees need to be set up in order for this particular policies to be implemented and for individuals in our society to follow. It's because we do not have that. It's enough for you to bring out and say, okay, free education, but implementation is another, monitoring to see that it's brought to the book is another, and of course rules and regulations to guide that particular policy, it's another. So I think but in Nigeria we drag our feet a lot when it comes to this particular issues. Great idea, but bringing it to the full-blown victory when it has to do with results, that is where the problem is. And I think we have a major role to play. Parents, first of all, need to understand why education is important, why education is a key. The Gen Zs now will tell you, back in the day, our parents, they went through stress and all of that. Now you can just there are easy ways of doing things. But truly, education is knowledge. That's one thing you cannot take away from a person. So it's very important that we see it as a major factor in curbing the menace of poverty first. It goes a long way. And for the mindset of individuals in these areas, let's talk about poverty, for instance, who feel that the most important thing is from hand to mouth. The child doesn't need to go to school. Every child must make effort in order for the family to move on. But they have to understand that sacrifice is very important. And you have to send that child to school to become a better version of you as a parent who did not have these opportunities. Giving your child the opportunities, the same as you fulfilling your dreams also. Not through your child, you can actually fulfill your dreams. You didn't reach a particular attainment in your education, your child can actually reach that, and it's you also the same. So it's very important that we understand that. I think there's a bigger awareness. I think we've not made that awareness known enough, telling individuals in our society, especially in the rural or urban areas, why education is the key, how it can actually curb the menace of poverty and children wandering and being praised in the hands of individuals who just feel is the fastest way of making money, because we see that a lot. Most of these children, you see them hawking on the road. They're easily praised for these in the criminals in our society. So it's better that we see education as a major factor in Nigeria, very importantly.
Yeah, I mean, Juma has made all this sense about this. It's time to take a break now. Let's inspire you a bit on a Friday morning such as this, because it is a promising day ahead of us. Here is Ramsey Enoch Agbo with Inspirational.
So many thanks for joining us once again on Heart to Heart Inspirational. We just want to inspire you, encourage you. And of course, my name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Now, do you know that there is this belief that everyone feels that they are behind? You ask a lot of people, and some people even tell their colleagues, their neighbors, their friends, their family members that they are behind. But let me tell you something right here. I want to start by correcting that lie that many of us have believed for too long. It's been a long time that a lot of people believe this lie. I want to say it is a lie, okay? It depends on what I want to say now. When someone say, I'm late, I'm late. And a lot of people have crashed out of destiny. A lot of people have mixed it in life because they feel I'm late. Hey, she's married, I'm not married. Oh my God, she's rich, I'm not rich. Oh, she's gotten admission, but look at me right here. But nobody is saying, oh, she's dead. Why am I not dead? Has anybody said that? Nobody is saying, oh, some of my mates are mad. Why am I not mad? I should. They don't tell themselves that they should be mad also because somebody is in their category or at their age level is mad, or maybe probably late or dead. Why are you not saying, all right, you should be dead or you should be mad? The same way you're thinking that, oh, you should be rich because the other person is rich and you are of the same age grade or classmate or something or neighbor or whatever. That's the reason I said it's a lie. When you are being forced to believe that you are late. And a lot of people, because they feel they are late now, they do nothing anymore because that is their mindset, because that's what they believe. But then I should further let you know this. Others ahead of you doesn't mean that you are late, because you are also ahead of someone. That's it. But hear me clearly today that you are not behind. All right. We live in a world obsessed with a lot of comparison. Social media shows us edited victories. A lot of victories you see, a lot of successes you see on social media are edited victories. All right. In the real sense of it, you meet some of these people one-on-one, you will be shocked. Hey, come on. Is that the person I see on social media? It is edited victories. All right. There are a lot of people that are living with struggles, but they come on social media and they paint everything like they don't have any issue. You see some families not doing well, some husband and wife not doing well. Then you see them on social media. It will appear as if they are the best couple in the world. I'm not saying you should show, all right, the ugly situations you're facing in your family. It's not everything you bring on social media. I'm aware of that. But then you don't need to pattern your life based on what you see on social media. All right. That has made a lot of people get into some acts that they are not supposed to get into. If you see some people's resolution for 2026, you would be shocked. A lot of people want to be successful because they feel they are late. Someone just told me, today that, well, he traveled, and you see a lot of people, just little boys who have involved themselves in one or two things, driving big cars, and the people who are doing genuine and legitimate things don't even have that kind of car. That's a wrong comparison, if you ask me. Though the person didn't fall for what they were driving, he didn't fall for it. And he was sharing with me today. But we need to know that there are so many things that have happened behind the scene with someone else's highlight reel and conclude would fail. But life is not a race. Life is a journey with different routes, all right, different terrains and different timings. So if it is not your route, if it is not your terrain, if it's not your timing and you want to force it, you may miss it, you may crash. If you go up too early, you may crash very early. A lot of people have faced that in the past. Some people are blown early and some fade early too. And others are slow-born successes. Some start strong and crash. Others struggle quietly and rise suddenly. Timing is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of design. That time you're taking your time, it's as if you are in the workshop. Very soon you come to the showroom and people will be wondering, where has he been? He was in the showroom having wilderness experience, putting himself together, refining himself, designing himself so that he can come out successful. You know, there are times that you need to be alone, sit alone, think positively and know what to do per time. You don't run after people. People's successes shouldn't derail you, shouldn't make you miss what you are supposed to do. Because as a matter of fact, what looks like delay is often development process. What feels like waiting is often preparation. And you are being equipped emotionally, mentally, and spiritually and strategically for what you are about to handle. So nobody should tell you that you are late, that you're not married yet, doesn't mean you're not going to get married. That you're not rich yet doesn't mean you're not going to get rich. It's all about times and season. Except if you're not positioned well. For every proper positioning, there would always be a proper possessioning. If you position well, you possess well. If you arrive early without capacity, without success, you will be destroyed. Because you can only, let me tell you something, you can get to the top, but what keeps you at the top is your character. All right, if you don't have character and charisma, one day you would be displaced from the top. So you need to prepare yourself very well for every success that you're thinking of in your heart. If it is in your heart, it will get into your head and one day it will enter your hand. But if you get it fast without wisdom, you would lose it faster. Okay, let me just give this illustration. Think of an aircraft, for instance, before takeoff. It accelerates on the runway for a very long time before it gets off the track and fly and leave the ground. If it doesn't maintain that timing on the runway for that number of time, it can never accelerate. So that period that you are time is the preparation period for your takeoff. So don't allow anyone discourage you or tell you that you are late, you are behind or whatever. To the untrained eye, it looks like delay, but without the runway, the plane cannot lift. Some of you are still on the runway, but lift is coming, lift is coming, you will be lifted. So what do you have to do? Okay, stop comparing yourself. The comparing chapter, you should close it. And stop apologizing for your pace. You don't owe anybody any apology for your pace, because it's only you that know what you are cooking. Start now as we speak, trusting your process, because any process you don't trust cannot work for you. Like I tell people, you don't sit under an imam that you don't believe in. You don't sit under a pastor that you don't believe in. All right? Because whatever, if the pastor is pronouncing blessing and you don't believe in that pastor, it is a cause for you. The same thing for the imam too. All right, so whatever process you don't believe in, any system you don't believe in, you don't have any business, all right, staying under that system. Delay, like they say, is not denial, and it is preparation in disguise. So you are not behind and you are not being aligned, and when your time comes, you won't just arrive, but you will be ready. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, and remember that you are a success going somewhere to happen. Don't allow anyone talk you down. Don't allow anyone tell you that you are late. Your time is coming, and that's the best time for you. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye for now.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television. All right, it's still Global Morning on Global Television. Hope you were well inspired by the Heart of Heart, inspirational by Ramsey Enoch Agbo. And at about this time is a newspaper review segment. And we're going to start with the first paper of the day. It's The Nation. And above the nameplate of The Nation newspaper, it says, Fayose raises dust over Makinde's villa visit. And that read you will find on page 5. And on page 28 of The Nation, it says Sanwo-Olu sponsors get kudos from AU Afrima. And on page 27, it says police declare bomb scare in Lagos schools falls. On page 25, local federal contractors get 152 billion naira payment. Now that's a step in the right direction. And of course, still on The Nation, it says Tinubu posts ambassadors to US, France, High Commissioner to UK. And that is on page 3. And beside that, it says new agri-focus will curb inflation, says Shetima. And that's from the Vice President, Kashim Shetima. And the star story on The Nation reads, Rivers CJ gives conditions to raise impeachment panel. And the writer says, my heart is fettered by the court orders. And at the foot of The Nation newspaper, it reads here, 24 Nigerian universities into global making, Nigerians' economic reforms working, says IMF. And that's on page 3. Now go out and get yourself a copy of The Nation to be well abreast with the major issues making rounds. Next, we have the Nigerian Tribune.
All right, let's go there. Top left first. Ambassadors, Tinubu posts Red to USA, okay to France, Dakingari to Turkey. Writer says the Latu is High Commissioner designate to the United Kingdom. Those details are on page 27. Fubara, Chief Judge rejects request to constitute impeachment panel on page 4. And then we have the star headline here, Kaduna abduction, that's a kicker. U.S. wants Nigeria to strengthen protection of Christians. The Southern Kaduna Christian leaders declare 2-day fasting over safe return of abducted worshippers. Southern Middle Belt Leaders Forum wants suspension, thorough investigation of police officials who denied abduction. That was quite a low for the police in this case. Those details are on page 3. You see,
Yes, it is.
I mean,
totally
brilliant guy, Benjamin Udain, the force public relations officer, came out and said, look, the reason the police denied earlier was we needed time to double check, fact check, do due diligence, be thorough with our process and
He
things
didn't
like
want to
that.
cause panic.
Right. That on the one hand is valid.
Yes.
But denial is not same as saying, give us a second, we need to double check. These are two different things. Of course, that was a save face kind of move, right? But you see, it must also be a lesson for the police. This is not the first, but it's also saying that Nigeria expects this should be the last from the police. The police has a lot of work to do in that regard.
Yes, they do.
All right, because you're dealing with over 200 million people. These are brilliant, intelligent people with their minds active. So if you deny an incident outright, it's a totally different kettle of fish from when you say we need some time to confirm. For example, you read some stories, they say when we contacted the police spokesperson in the command, he said he will revert or he will get back to our correspondence. That's not denial. That's saying we are not so sure that's happened.
We need to fact check.
Exactly. We don't even have the details yet, but give us some time to double check. But when you say it didn't happen, I mean, that came from the state government, it came from the local government, it came from the police command. I mean, the CP of that state should be asked questions as to what exactly happened. You see, leadership is about being accountable. It's not just about the title, the office, the perks that come with the office. It's about being, that's the reason they are brilliant policemen, they are efficient policemen, but we chose you to be the commissioner of police for a reason.
Yes, we did.
To whom much is given, much is expected.
Exactly. And of course, being accountable and of course owning up responsibility is very important. And I'm glad, well, like I said, Nigerians are now becoming aware. We're now becoming more versed when it comes to issues like this, knowing that, okay, there's something not right here and the police needs to take responsibility, not just full responsibility, which is a step in the right direction. But let's just see how well this plays out, as I'll always say.
Let's look at headlines from the left-hand corner of the front page of the Nigerian Tribune for you now. UN says 35 million Nigerians risk hunger after global funding collapse. Just to mention that news is reporting today that the US has now totally pulled out of the World Health Organization. So under the leadership of President Donald Trump, the US is saying where the WHO is mentioned, candles out. Nigeria's cashew export hits $400 million. Milk, whole bread diets dramatically reduce cholera infections. That's according to experts. Quite a complicated case here. I've been staying away from bread for a while now. Don't ask me why.
Really? Why? Please tell us.
Well, I just feel it's time. So I do with bread instead. I do with bread if I have to. If with a big if I have to do.
Does this have to do with age?
Well, I understand that I should make healthier choices.
Okay.
Right.
I'm proud of you. Yeah, right.
All right, let's take a look at other headlines for you now. Comfortable in PDP, Makinde says, meets with Tinubu at Villa. All of that happened yesterday. We understand former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, is now raising dust over these visits. Tinubu seals deal with Shell to unlock job forex flow. What does it say further? With a rider here. Shell's commitment, totaling $9 billion, is testimony to confidence in Nigeria's economy. That's according to Ojulari, the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. All right, lastly, the foot of the front page. Oil drilling at Ogun Waterside, Olokola Deep Seaport set to take off. Those details are on page 12. Please read up all of these from the Nigerian Tribune today as we move up next to the Vanguard newspaper.
All right, now the Vanguard newspaper, it says 4 trillion debt, FG bows to pressure, says pays 152 billion naira to contractors. And still at the top above the nameplate, it says NJC okays 14 lawyers as federal high court judges, and that read you will find on page 8. And on page 12, still above the nameplate, it says here, why I declined to constitute panel to probe Fubara, and that's from Rivers Chief Judge, that's Rivers CJ. Now, below the nameplate of the Vanguard newspaper, it says Kudirat Abiola's murder. Supreme Court dismisses case against Major AI Mustafa, and that's on page 6. And on page 8, below all of that, it says 2027, Saraki calls for credible pose, effective fight against craft. And on page 10, it says, I'm comfortable in PDP, Makinde declares after meeting Tinubu. And below that, it says Kaduna abductions, and the star story reads, U.S. raises fresh concerns, tax FG on stronger action. And we have some riders there. One of the riders says, we're intensifying military operations in affected areas, and that's from the federal government. And another rider reads, SMBLF demands immediate rescue of victims. And then another rider says, this is the 23rd attack on our community, and that's from the villagers. And another rider reads, rescue worshippers, apprehend kidnappers. Speaker Abbas tax security agencies. Now, SOKAPU condemns abductions, calls for urgent government action. And another rider says, Southern Kaduna Christian leaders declare 2-day fasting for victims' safe return. And the last rider says, I'm personally monitoring operations, and that's from Governor Ubasani, and that's, of course, the governor of Kaduna State. And, of course, one of my favorite reads on this paper on page 9, it says, Apabio Natasha resumed legal battle as Senate President appeals. And the sports desk on the Vanguard reads, it says, AFCON 2027, Super Eagles begin qualifying campaign September. And that's on page 29. My favorite part of the Vanguard is the cartoon stories. And basically, that is it on the Vanguard. Let's flip over to the Daily Sun as Uyi runs us through that paper.
All right, I just sent the nameplate. First of all, it says, Oranto Petroleum, we suspended oil exploration in Senegal last year, says it took action when Senegalese government breached agreements. Brings us to the Star headline, Fubara's impeachment plot suffers setback. Rivers Chief Judge declines to set up panel to probe governor deputy, size court order. Shetima unveils Nigeria's food security plan at Davos, says government has launched, backed to form initiatives to help displaced farmers access capital. Tinubu posts for ambassador designates to US, UK, France, Turkey ahead of visit. Tinubu okays oil drilling at waterside or local at deep seaports to take off. That story is credited to Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State. Foreign lenders drag First Bank Nigeria trustees Sulu Gambari to court over Nekonde Nest oil security deal. On page 22 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Not so much of headlines from the Daily Sun today, incidentally, but then do yourself a favor, read out those details. Let's now turn to the Daily Trust.
All right, now the Daily Trust newspaper, now below the nameplate, it says, Leaders' Verdict on Fourth Republic. That's, of course, the star story on the Daily Trust. Now below that on page 28, it reads, Tinubu posts ambassadors to U.S., France, 2 others. And on page 18, Supreme Court dismisses AI Mustafa's trial in Kudirat Abiola's murder. And on page 12, it says, impeachment. Rivers CJ declines to constitute panel. And at the foot of the Daily Trust, 7 persons killed in fresh Plateau attack. And that very sad read you will find on page 38. And that's all of the headlines making rounds on the Daily Trust. Go out and get yourself a copy to be well abreast with the issues. And next we have This Day.
All right, so let's turn to This Day for you. We'll begin with the headlines. Above the nameplate for you, Tinubu unveils incentives to unlock jobs, foreign exchange inflows from Shell's Bunga Southwest. Others. We have 3 riders with that headline. Says project will be delivered before May 2027. Ojulari reviews Shell ready to make $20 billion additional investments. In Davos, Edun pitches productivity-led investments to drive jobs, exports. All right. Then you have a picture of Minister of the FCT here with his son, who has just bagged a master's degree in England. Of course, you have his other son, his daughter, and his wife with him right there. It says, again, a different headline. Now, U.S. Under Secretary, Nigerian government must do more to protect Christians. And then the big one, Rivers CJ, my hand is fettered, stops impeachment process against Fubara Udu. All right, says he's restrained by interim orders of state high courts and appeal process by the legislators. Quite a legally technical issue here, but you can't blame the CJ now, can you? Right? Tinubu approves posting of 3 out of 68 ambassadors designates. You would find those details on page 9. Incidentally, that's all we can bring to you on this day newspaper this morning. Read all those details as well. That way you can be better guided regarding to this news. Let's now turn to the Punch newspaper.
All right, now the Punch newspaper giving us some very punchy headlines according to we. And above the nameplate it says Makinde rules out defection plans after meeting Tinubu. And that read you will find on page 27. Now beside the nameplate of the Punch newspaper it says CJ declines to probe Fubara. Speaker heads to appeal court, and that's on page 27. Now below the nameplate it says Supreme Court closes Kudirat Abiola's murder case, frees A.I. Mustafa, and that read you will find on page 26. The Star story read abductions, and it says here U.S. demands action, FG vows to track bandits, and the writer reads here Roberto meets U.S. envoys in Washington, pressures Abuja on insecurity. And it says mother recounts giving birth to Kaduna kidnappers hideout. Very unfortunate incident there. And on page 19 it says Tinubu approves commercial oil drilling in Ogun. And on page 4 and 5 on the Punch it says attack scare, police deploy officers to top Lagos schools. And that's a picture story of the DG National Youth Service Corps. And that's all about all the major headlines on the Punch. Go out and get yourself a copy and be well abreast with the issues making round. Next we have the Daily Independent.
All right, let's take a look at the Daily Independent real quick for you now. The big story on the front page of the Daily Independent, it says Shell eyes $20 billion investment in Nigeria after successful $7 billion deal. Yeah, of course. All right, let's take it one notch higher above the nameplates. Poultry sector fit to drive Nigeria's industrial value chain. That's according to stakeholders. Why I can't raise panel to probe Fubara, deputy by Chief Judge of Rivers State. Macro policies have secured Nigeria's feed supply. That's credited to, Vice President Shutima. Kudirat Abiola, Supreme Court dismisses trial of Al-Mustafa. 2027, Atiku should not run for president as sacrifice Hakim Baba Ahmed. What more does it say? Tinubu posts ambassadors designate to France, US, UK, Turkey, right? Atiku warns Senate against non-passage of Electoral Act amendments. What more here? The big one. Kaduna abduction. U.S. asks Nigeria to firm up protection for Christians. Just a rider with the headline, Ribadu lists gains of U.S.-Nigeria security engagements. And lastly, Nigeria drifting unprepared into demographic explosion. Gambari, that's former chief of staff to late former President Muhammadu Buhari there talking. All right, read up details on the Daily Independent today. Let's now turn to the First Daily newspaper for you.
All right, the First Daily, beside the nameplate of the First Daily, it reads 2027 at risk. Atiku accuses Senate of stalling electoral reforms. And that read you will find on page 23. And the Star story reads, Makinde meets Tinubu, insists, I'm comfortable in PDP. And below that, it says gunmen kill 7 miners in Fresh Plateau bloodshed. Very unfortunate incident there. It keeps going. We keep going back and forth with these incidents.
Right.
Very unfortunate. And here it says INEC warns foreigners against illegal voter registration. And below all of that, it says Rivers crisis. Chief Judge defies Assembly, rejects probe panel. And it says court admits DSS evidence on show raise Tinubu is a criminal claim. And Nigeria-US reaffirms security partnership on counter-terrorism. And below all of that, it says Apabio heads to Supreme Court over Akpoti Ugandan suspension. And American exits WHO, ending decades of membership. All right, now, go and get yourself a copy of the First Daily to be well abreast with issues making round. Next, we have the New Telegraph.
All right, let's take a look at the New Telegraph this morning, which will be our penultimate paper. All right, here it says, sustained infrastructure decay undermines federal government's 10.51 trillion naira allocation to health. U.S. officially exits World Health Organization. Tinubu approves targeted incentives for jobs, FX inflows from Shell Bonga projects, others. Makinde meets Tinubu, says, I'm comfortable in PDP. Protesting contractors, Finance Ministry clears 152 billion naira verified contract debt. Kudirat Abiola's murder, Supreme Court dismisses Major Al-Mustafa trial. Those details are on page 2. U.S. forces annihilating terrorists in Nigeria, Trump says. Apprehension over pilots' 50% pay rise demand. Tinubu Oke's posting of Oke-Are as ambassadors designate to U.S., France, others. CJ declines Rivers Assembly's request to probe Fubara deputy. That's regarding the impeachment process of the governor of Rivers State. Hunger crisis, World Food Program to cut food aid to 1 million Nigerians as funds dry up. Quite sad. Needs $129 million to sustain operations over 6 months. A whole lot of money. And it says the World Food Program, Shetima unveils Nigeria's macro strategy on food security. And lastly here, a link between smoking, depression, confirmed. That's according to a study. And yet you hear people say they need to smoke to feel good. So now there's a nexus, experts say, between smoking and depression. Well, that's all we have for you this morning from that paper, and we hope you do read up details for yourself as we move on to the last paper this morning, and that will be the Daily Monitor. And Juma has those headlines.
All right, now the Daily Monitor at about this point, and it reads here above the nameplate, it says, complete eradication of terrorists, our mission, General Idris, and that's on page 4. And on page 4 again, it says offshore projects, Tinubu approves incentives to unlock jobs. That's FX inflows from Shell. And on page 5, it says Makinde Mufwang visits State House fuel speculations. And next on page 6, it says Steplet Energy appoints Tony Elumelu as non-executive director. And the Star story reads here, but before we get there, let's look at EFCC indicates banks, fintechs, 18.7 billion naira fraudulent schemes against Nigerians. And the Star story reads, credibility of 2027 elections at risk, says Atiku. And the writer says, accuses NAS, that's the National Assembly, of deliberately undermining next general polls. And at the foot of the Daily Monitor, it says Southern Kaduna Christians declare 2-day fasting over Kajuri kidnapping. And the writer says, as bandits relocate victims, kill 6 in Kachia, local government area of Kaduna State. Very unfortunate incident there. And of course, that is the major headlines on the Daily Monitor, and go out to get yourself a copy and be well abreast with the issues making round. And that brings us to the end of the newspaper review segment. And remember, we at Global Television just read the headlines just as it is. We did not impute any words whatsoever. So please go out to get yourself a copy and be well abreast with the major news making round. Up next is Social Buzz. Do not go anywhere. Global Morning continues shortly. Stay tuned.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all. From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
You are welcome back. Apologies on Social Buzz not coming to you at about this time, but up next is Business Point. Stay tuned.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
All right, everyone. Our first discussion this morning will focus on the economic reforms of President Bola Tinubu and how these reforms, the last 2 years and counting, some people say, well, just about 4 months away from 3 years, have impacted everyday Nigerians, top to bottom. Rice or bag of rice has become the standard by which most Nigerians now, if you like, measure whether government is improving the economy or not. I'm talking about the price of bag of rice, for example. We have seen a very significant drop in that regard. But people say, well, you need more, a couple of other items, ingredients, to even cook a pot of rice, for example. So you also need to talk about other essentials where you have prices skyrocketing. But the president has made clear time and again that policy will naturally require time to incubate, and until that cycle is complete, citizens will naturally not also appreciate outcomes. But as it stands today, is it still as hard as it was starting from May 29 of 2023, when the president told Nigerians that fuel subsidy is gone? We'll look at that and other socio-economic policies under the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu in the course of our conversation this morning. We're joined by a politician and an economic analyst, Haruna Brimo, to help us understand what's going on. Haruna, good morning, and so good to have you on the program.
Good morning.
Good morning, Juma. You're looking hot.
Thank you.
You guys are looking cool this morning.
Thank you so much.
I can feel the renewed hope agenda.
Really?
This is a reflection.
You really want us to have that conversation?
We're already on it.
Incidentally, you look great too, so it's as if we knew you were going to give us a run for our money. So
exactly.
we have to come prepared for you.
Well, you said I'm a politician. Politicians always look great.
Yeah, well, they do. Yeah.
Of course, especially when it's a show for the cameras.
We can't fight that. We like to say thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you for being
here. So let's talk about the renewed hope agenda. You know, somebody jokingly told me that the president already knew Nigerians are hopeful people even before he came into office. But then he was brilliant by saying renewed hope.
Yeah.
Right, but it will appear Nigerians, for the most part, don't seem to be appreciating whatever, if you like, results that government and indeed the Nigerian people have recorded in that regard. What exactly should we be appreciating about the reforms being pursued by the Tinubu administration?
When you started, you said a bag of rice is now becoming the yardstick to measure the
performance of
governance in Nigeria. I would jokingly add to that it's not necessarily, but because the same bag of rice was a yardstick within the context of performance or poverty level in Nigeria when it came to power. We were using that when the bag of rice was selling for 120,000 naira. You know, 100,000. Nigerians never thought of any other thing than bag of rice. Look at rice, so it's a staple food. It's now selling for this. So not necessarily that the government is using that. You just the system is reminding you naturally that now that you are buying it for 47,000, 50,000, 50-something naira, it's a reflection that things are taking shape. You know, the Nigerian economy categorically is into two aspects. Totally, we have the micro and the macroeconomics. The respective indices of these economic theories is what drives the entire generality of the economy of a country.
Right.
The macroeconomics indices is faced squarely or handled squarely mostly by the president of the country, while the micro, which is the household, small businesses, unit, firms, economy, are mostly handled by subnationals across state to local government. But in the context of federalism, the macro indices mechanisms should be driven at the national level, at the federal level by the president, so that its ripple effect now assists the state governors, those that are very serious, or the local government chairman, to translate their policy easily so that the lives of the downtrodden, the masses at the grassroots level will actually be better off.
Right.
And this, the President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done head-on from the get-go of his administration. We were on this program during the swearing-in, where he audaciously made some pronouncements. Like he has said that he never was those statements were not included in his inaugural speech, but he had to make it. That is what is called audacity of hope. You know, that is an audacious, renewed hope that Nigeria should get ready to have a renewed hope. Hope is about the future.
Right.
It's not about the present. That collectively, if we can work this out with the situation we are, let's work it out this way. Let's surgically dissect the system, remove the cancers, the cancerous problems of the economy, and let a fresh growth. When you remove a cancer from it, cancer is like a lump that is an outrageous growth that is not wanted in a particular system of the body. And if it's removed, then the place will be refilled with normal flesh, and normal growth and development will happen. And that is what we are after almost 3 years now. That is what we are experiencing. You know, when those surgical operations, where the economy was taken into the theater of knowledge, theater of macroeconomic policies, theater of reforms, theater of FS deregulation, you know, foreign exchange, theater of fuel subsidy removal, everybody felt it because as at that time the economy was in coma.
Right.
It needs an aesthetic attention so that the surgeon, who is the president, should can handle the macro aspect of it. So that when the economy is now out of the ICU, the intensive care units, then it will recuperate. After recuperation comes discharge, and such person, the economy now become reverberating, and the ripple effect is what is now being fed across the state, where state government and local government are having billions upon billions in FAC allocation in revenue, almost tripling what they used to earn at the before the coming of this administration, owing to some of the surgical operations like the fuel subsidy removal, the forest deregulation. Somebody will argue that, oh, was fuel subsidy not this and that, was FS not this and that? No, because we were at economic cliffhanger. We were between the devil and the deep blue sea.
That was before Tinubu took over.
Yes, because there was no way it could have. The reform had to just take place immediately. There's nothing like, they have to be drastic, especially those fundamentals. Because as at that time, we were having a foreign reserve of less than 27 billion, which can survive us as a country, all things being equal, that we don't produce oil, can only sustain us for less than 6 months. As at that time, we have already printed money. You know, how a country makes money is by selling its products to earn money. Our product is, as at then, 97% of our foreign earning product was crude oil. And as at then, we were not even having crude oil to sell, because we have already mortgaged the future crude oil to collect collateralized facilities from Afrinexi banks, from different multilateral corporations, just to be sustaining and financing subsidy that was not actually trickling in effect to the lives of the poor masses. We were having a dollar, because it is what you earn in dollar for the crude oil that you're going to give to importers, that you're going to give to airline operators, that you're going to give to the infotech people that bring some of these technologies to Nigeria. It's whereby the NNPC was not actually anymore, rather borrowing indirectly to subsidize petrol. We're having more naira, less dollar. You understand? And in that regard, we're already owing about $15 billion to call money with airlines. They provided us with the naira, but we could not have the dollars to give to them. And our rating in international aviation sector was downgraded, was going down. Today, you see, Air Peace is on the route of, is operating on international route from Dubai to London. You know, you think it's just a wake-up miracle? No, it takes a lot of reforms that have taken place here. You know, we needed to devalue the forest market, so that the hiccups of second-tier and third-tier operators in the system will be removed. All the barriers. It's whereby, well, few people will go and buy dollar for 400 or something naira per dollar and be selling it at 700 or something, you know, and the gap between 400 and 700 or something become a subsidy for the government to finance. How many people, how many masses have access to forests that you say they were benefiting from that subsidy that government was paying? Government was placing naira where it does not belong. So what the President Tinubu administration quickly did was to fashion out a way, because when you are deregulating, when you are floating the currency, you need to create shock absorbing base for it to float. Then, and remember, devaluation encourage export. Export bring more earnings. Right. So you are not earning more dollar to straighten your policy of floating of the foreign exchange. And that is what has led to all this. As at last year, we are already having an international trade surplus of more than 12 trillion. In quarter one, we are having 5.4. In quarter two to quarter three, we are having 7.6 trillion in international trade. What does that mean? It means that we are now exporting more than we are importing. I just said right now that our mainstay before he came to power was
97% oil.
97% of our foreign earning was coming from oil. Right. Yes. Right now we are having that trend, that narrative is being cut short. We are reversing it. Right now we are doing 44.57% in non-oil exports. Agriculture is accounting for 17% of this. Manufacturing is accounting for 70%. coal and mining, solid minerals. These are the non-oil sectors that have been stratified to grow because of the devaluation. I told you devaluation encouraged exports.
But let's talk about devaluation for a second before Jumai lends a voice to it. When the Naira, of course, when President Bola Tinubu took office, of course, by then Emefiele, the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, had left office. We had a gentleman there on interim basis who was acting as the governor of the CBN. At that time, he also came under fire on the basis of the idea of floating the Naira, which was very controversial at the time. So it raises a question of how then was floating the Naira a blessing for our economy?
I just explained something to you that as the difference was, as Tinubu was floating, it was creating the base. It's like you put Naira and dollar in the sea. 2 canoes or 2 ships to sail. You understand?
Right.
How does one catch up with one when it does not have the gravity? When it cannot have the force to gravitate towards the attraction of, then we begin to like, okay, where are we? Should we begin to concentrate in agriculture? Those items that will bring more oil, that will bring more earnings, non-oil earnings. And remember, as and then, OPEC gave us a quota of 1.6 or 1.3 million barrels per day. And the country could not, in the 8 years of the last administration, we are producing patry 800,000 barrels per day.
Right.
And then you need more earnings to create base for your floating. What did Tinubu did? Whatever was responsible, vandalism, oil bulkery, he had meetings with stakeholders in the energy sector, the crude oil sector. Created a surveillance package that was attractive to some of these stakeholders to protect the pipelines. Today we are doing almost 1.8 million. We are running above OPEC. So we are earning more in dollar now. So these were the policies direction that made the negativity of the disadvantage of floating the currency, because everything with advantage and disadvantage.
Right.
But the capacity to quickly curb, to create those shock absorbing mechanism, so that when the impact, imagine if he had not done that, we wouldn't have still be producing 800,000 barrels a day, and you are saying you are floating the Naira. You will not survive in the floating. The devaluation of the FS would have been of a favorable effect to us. It did not stop there. The earnings from this oil now, as it's producing more, is earning more. Now begin to diversify the earning, investing it in other sectors. Agriculture, giving respective manufacturing support from pharmaceutical manufacturers. Creative fiscal reform that directly affects them. Do you know how many billions of dollars has been pumped into the medical and pharmaceutical industry in Nigeria? So that we don't rely on almost importing. At the time, we are importing more than 70-80% of our medicines. Research and development in science and technology. Look at what Naseni is doing. Such investment. Mechanized farming. He went to Brazil. He made arrangement with them to bring about tractors. Spending these earnings from crude oil now. And the good part is states are benefiting from this. This is the micro. Like in our states. You now see tractors, launching tractors, 50 tractors, 80 tractors. Every month you see governors bringing tractors to their state. Everybody is shifting the base. We are no longer talking of food sufficiency now.
Right.
We are actually driving at food security. People, just during the week or last week, you saw members of the House of Rep complaining that farmers are no longer encouraged because there's no competitiveness in price.
Is that a good thing?
It's a two-way thing. The question we should be asking them, when they were increasing the price arbitrarily, were they coming to laugh to us that they were making money? Do you understand? They are now saying the food prices are falling too much.
So how do we create some sort of...
the Minister of Finance has said there is going to be balance up. But the prices of food will continue to crash. in as much as production is growing, so that we'll be talking of food security.
Have we achieved?
We will not just be exporting raw materials, we'll be exporting food.
Adding value here too.
Of course.
Have we achieved food sufficiency as it stands right now?
That is what we are. That is why the farmers are complaining now. We are almost there. Sufficiently in Nigeria. In the how many food have we been importing? I just told you how many percentage growth in non-oil revenue from agriculture. About 17%. We have never achieved that in years. Yes, you see the oil sector bring about 97%. Just 3% remain for both agri, manufacturing, mining, and all that. Today now we are talking of 40-something, 44.57% in non-oil sector revenue earning to the economy.
The agriculture standing at 17. I think Juma wants to.
Yes, you know, for someone who is listening, just like how I've just sat down and I'm listening to you, that's the common man who say these are all numbers. These are all numbers, these are all statistics. They do not understand. How does it impact these various reforms? How does it impact, as in bringing it down to the grassroots now? How can it... No,
okay, go ahead.
Okay. How can it actually improve the livelihood of individuals in the society when it comes to area of transportation, inflation, unemployment, all of these basic amenities that are important to the common Nigerian? Whatever
contributed to the inflation, everything you're talking about, transportation, increase in food prices, rents, rental cost, whatever that contributed was recognized, that made the inflation to be 34% before now. Do you know that? And on this program, you also told me that the inflation is skyrocketing based on the fact that the common man is not feeling the impact. Everything is going up higher. That's why the inflation, which we all agree.
And transportation is almost the same.
I'm coming.
Okay.
Index by index. Now that the inflation is about 16% now, from 34% to 16%, just within a year. And we're not talking of outside that general inflation, nominal inflation rates. We now come to the food inflation. Food inflation is not hovering between 12 and 13%. And the target is to hit single-digit inflation. I just told you now that you mentioned rice is not limited to rice. What of beans? What of gari? A mudu of gari at the time was selling for 1.5. Right now it's 500 naira or less. What of palm oil? We get these things. We eat regular food. We are not alien. I remember at the time I bought a tire for my car for 105,000 naira per one. Right now, buying that same tire for less than about 68 to 70,000 naira, just within less than a year. The person selling it and the person buying it, I will not common man. Is that not impact positively of government reforms?
Part of it, but
you understand?
Transportation still remains the same.
We are saying the same thing. The roads, not necessarily the fuel. Even when the government was removing subsidy, created the CNG arrangement. When you are buying,
which is still a struggle till now.
No, the CNG arrangement is not a struggle.
It is.
The operators.
Individuals will tell you that to convert a loan is high.
It's not what of those that have you asked those that have converted? Why are they not reducing the price of their transportation?
Is that supposed to be the job of the Nigerian person, I mean the citizen, to do? Are we not supposed to have, if you like, some sort of mechanism in place to
help regulate? Take me to, I know where you are driving at. You know, we are funny people in this country. Yeah, there's no country that operates an economic system in utopianism. We have agreed since 1999 in this Fourth Republic that we have embraced liberalization of economy.
So the free market factor.
Free markets, market forces, force of demand and supply. If it's affecting other staples, we should make it. That is the role of city. Was it Tinubu or any other government official that made the price of rice to come down? Your one is to drive the policy. When there is too much of this, so what the government is going to do, and they are continuously doing it, more centers for CNGs are opening up, and the cost of conversion has also reduced from the beginning. Go and find out. Take this upon a special report should be done on that.
Okay.
You understand? So now it's less for us. By the time more conversion centers are open, more CNG refilling centers are available, you understand, and much, then people, and the fuel, you could see that the fuel price is coming down 700 and something to 800 now, from 1,150 when it started. Then there will be options for consumers. By the time you fill your CNG, you will be forced to reduce your price so that you will see customers to carry or commuters to carry. Also, the other aspect that must have contributed is the many bad roads, federals, especially federal roads. I'm talking of interstate transportation, because they will always give you an excuse that the roads are bad. That after every trip, they end up the mechanics spending almost 40 to 50% of their transport earnings in the mechanics. And this is another aspect, infrastructure, road infrastructure, that the Tinubu administration has handled head on. Before he came to power, we're having more than $20 billion worth of road infrastructure deficits. Both abandoned, ongoing, you know. Phase by phase, I can start in every state. There is hardly a state in Nigeria today that the federal road is not being attended to with concrete road construction. There is hardly a state out of 36 states. We can name them from Ijesha to Lagos, Ekiti, within Oyo, Shagamu to Lagos, Benin Ore, Benin Saple Warri Road, which some state governors are even taking over the construction. We are seeing all that. Benin Asaba dualization, which was on the concession. Benin Ekpoma Road, Ekpoma Auchi, Lokoja, Okene, phase by phases, we see construction going on. Phase in phases at different sections and segments. The Sokoto Badagry major highway is ongoing. The Maradi rail continue. The Lagos Calabar coastal highway ongoing. These are massive infrastructures. By the time all this, so my translates to realities when they are into completion. We'll also be here talking about them as legacy projects.
I want to ask you something.
Just like we are talking about Second Niger Bridge today.
Right.
Second Niger Bridge was conceived after the end of Civil War in 1967. And it never came to fruition until late President Muhammadu Buhari made it happen. Even where subsequent government placed cyber there and collected billions. Okay, but today, President Muhammadu Buhari is no longer alive. We are talking about it here. People are applying that road. That's legacy.
Right. Since we're talking about roads now, there have been this sort of debate as to whether or not we should toll our roads. Should we have toll gates? Should we have a toll system? As somebody with a robust background in economics, what's your position?
Yeah, I also key into that because it's not just about constructing roads. Most of these roads are failed over the years, owing to poor maintenance. You understand? Quality. A road that was constructed to last 10 years before attention.
Right.
Just before 5 years, you see the road failing. And in the government record, that road has been marked to last for 10 years. So government is not recognizing it until after 10 years. So you can imagine people have to suffer on that road that have failed 5 years into the 10 years program for the next 5 years before government will recognize it. Because that is how government planning work. Right. Government must plan. You understand? So road that are planned for 5 years failed after 2 years. But when you do this concession and this road, you give the management of the roads to those like build and maintain and collect your revenue. That is the arrangement. It's not just to the government build it and government appoint contractors.
Right.
Government is not saying we are going to be making revenue from it. Government is saying you build, you maintain. We give you an arrangement. Use your money or other PPP arrangement. We come in, you come in on percentage basis. You build the road like the certainly the Benin Asaba dual carriage road will be told, because those financing, most of the finance, they are coming for foreign multilaterals.
Right.
We already have a national Nigeria concession arrangement. There's a structural framework for that already, where you have big players from across, even African Exim Bank, Afri Investment and Co. Even some banks like I think UBA is also involved, and other investment partners. You understand?
Right.
It's just to enlarge the portfolio of that program, so that there will be more investment there, more roads will be taken over. When you know that you are going to build the road and maintain it, and the concession will last for like 20 years, so you know that if you don't maintain your roads, nobody's going to apply that road, that you will not be collecting revenue from towing. Then you will sustain it for the next, so that you can recoup your investment. Because the government is already looking into that. I also advise it for this Benin Lokoja roads. They should also. So I'm not against it. Even the Abuja Kano road is ongoing. These are inherited programs. Go to Adamawa, Gombe, Kachere Road. These are all federal roads that are being handled.
Now, let's look at this critically now. Now, what economic problems do critics still say they face after seeing all of these reforms? And they still talk about it, that there's still so much hardship, so much issues in Nigeria.
First of all, Nigeria is a going concern. It's an entity. And every entity except is out of existence. The going concern concept of Nigeria is not threatened. So when the entity is going concern, every other program, policy, framework, and direction, which include government and institution, they are going concern. That means there is no end to problems and there is no end to solutions. The philosophy of Tinubu administration is using the Japanese development philosophy of Kaizen, changes for continuous improvements. It's not saying that he has a magical wand that will bring all the solutions to all the challenges. He is saying that critical sectors will be well stabilized. Right now, we are having a buffer foreign reserve of more than 40 billion. And you know what that means to international trade? We are having a balance of payment positive for the first time in the last more than 20 years. And we know what is balance of payment. There is much hope now in the economy. You just saw the share petroleum MD yesterday.
Right.
That with the policies and reforms framework of the government, they are now more than ever willing, and they are willing to invest another 20 billion into their activities in Nigeria. You know what that means, and that will also trickle down to the micro. So I think for the suffering generally, because macroeconomics framework, Tinubu has handled very well, at least more than 70% in the positive. The micro unit, where he cannot do it all alone, which is the household economy, the small businesses and other, the regular life of Nigeria. That is where he has also had the political will to deregulate the local governments, created the autonomy. You saw when he was threatening them the other day, that they give them some time. If they don't have the state governors,
he will use executive power.
Exactly, to be handing over their federal allocation to them directly.
Right.
So it's not less for Nigeria to also be questioning why are local government chairmen not presenting their budgets of what they are receiving and how they intend to spend it for their respective councils in Nigeria. 774 local government. Imagine if all of them are putting 10% effort in the local economy. 36 state governors plus FCT 37. Imagine if all of them are putting 20% effort in their respective state economy. Combine this, and that is 30%. Add it to the 70% effort of President Tinubu in driving the macro framework, then Nigeria will become an Eldorado.
Let's talk about
So I think the masses, the Nigerians, we keep saying it, we will continue to say that if we must embrace good governance, we must have the knowledge of social contract. Social contract is the contract that exists between the government and the governed. We are the governed. The government does not start from up to down. Federalism starts from your local government. So the capacity and ability to question what is going on in your local government. You can easily have access to your local government chairman and your councillor and your supervisory councillor than even your state governor. Talk more of Tinubu, who is driving the larger framework, providing security. You can see what is going on in the security architecture of Nigeria. Banditry and terrorism is being fought head on Do you know the impact of that on agriculture? Because we used to complain that herdsmen and criminals, bandits have stopped a lot of persons from going to farm. Why is agriculture growing? Because the security is being fought right now. Many people are making their ways back to farm. You see the concerted effort of some state governors like the Governor Monday Okpebolo in Edo State, as far as agriculture is concerned. Directly involved on a PPP arrangement. Government is no longer saying agriculture. Agriculture is a sector that needs constant subsidy from government, not petroleum and forests. And that is what some state governors, like in Edo State, they are doing. And that is what Tinubu is also encouraging.
Okay, I want us to talk about social investment programs. The APC government has been very big on that front. Indeed, from 1999 till date, I think it has almost been impossible to talk about impact, especially at the grassroots, without recognizing the place of social investments. But since it appears that is where the regular Nigerians, I don't want to say common Nigerians, the everyday people benefit more directly, whether you call it the conditional cash transfer or some sort of empowerment for small businesses or for farmers or people in certain fields of endeavor. It is at the heart of direct and measurable impacts. Let's look at how much we have come and how far we have come regarding social investment.
First of all, we have to appreciate, in this aspect, we have to give it to the late President Muhammadu Buhari, who inherited a government in 2015 where 32 states were in near total bankruptcy. They were technically insolvent. Because when a government of any strata, whether local government or state, can no longer meet the day-to-day running of its activity, we're not even talking of providing capital infrastructure, that government is technically bankrupt. That was what he inherited. And some of the measures, policy directions taken to curb such was this social investment, because we're in economic dependency with stagnation and stagflation everywhere. He created the social investment program. Across conditional cash transfer, trader money, school feeding program, empowerment of some graduates that were not having work. For 8 years, each state, whether it's APC or PDP, minimum of 5,000 graduates unemployed will be paid by the federal government. 30,000 naira every month. Minimum of 5,000 graduates. I'm bet to be corrected. We should give it to the APC government. Some of these measures, even those in opposition, by adventure or misadventure they are in government today, they will sustain them. They will sustain this policy. Because they don't even have, we've already created a base for it. You are now talking about translating to the common man at these programs. No, because our problem as far as poverty index is concerned, when they rate us as we are so percent, so amount of Nigerians are poor, more than 100 million Nigerians are poor, the common man picked that as a clickbait. But the question is, every common man that picked that have a rich man or an averagely rich person in their respective family. What that common man is suffering is multi-dimensional poverty index, not total poverty. Poverty of the mind is poverty on its own. Mental poverty is poverty. Institutionally induced poverty. Poor infrastructure provision is poverty. You may have money in your pockets, yet you don't have access to social infrastructure. That is also poverty. You may be having a car, but thinking abnormally, cognitively deficient. That is poverty of the mind. But when the World Bank or the multinationals are assessing us on poverty, they use all these criteria. But when we want to pick it, we pick it from how whatever comes to our stomach, food and shelter.
It's not a fair, thing.
Why the social investment program cannot translate to the way we want it is because it's not embraced at the subnational levels. I've asked on this program, Oye, that tell me any state that has domesticated a social investment program. It is just now in this administration of, sorry, I'm always making reference to my state because that is where the things are happening. Massive reform that are in tandem with the federal government. I'm seeing a state governor for the first time that is working in synchronization with the policy direction of the federal government to make his state better. We now have a Ministry of Humanitarian and Poverty Eradication. in Edo State, a complete full-blown institutional framework. So the conditional cash transfer office in Edo State, which is from federal government, that is providing whatever the federal government can allocate on quota to Edo State, will now begin to work with whatever the state governor is bringing. You can see the beneficiary will now increase. You get my point?
Right.
If a president is driving a program like Empower that is taking 5,000 unemployed graduates from a state, if such program is domesticated in that state and the state governor is saying, I will also take 3,000 or 4,000. If federal government is paying 30, let me be paying 20. And the local government, we have 18 local government in my state, and each local government chairman say, okay, I will be taking 1,000 on that the same. You understand? So generally, that program of Empower will be catering for about almost 10,000 instead of 5,000 people. It's like a drop of water in the ocean. If you leave all this, because everything that has to do with these are individual economies now, it's mainly for the state. These are interventionist policies of the federal government. These are supposed to be for the state and local government in a working system. But the federal government is intervening, yet no state government is embracing. Most of the states are not. I've given you sectoral analysis of if a 5%, if a more than 10 states out of 36 embrace agriculture in agreement with the blueprint of the federal government. Agriculture is in the concurrent list. Economy is in the concurrent list of the second schedule of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in responsibility governance. If they also embrace it and make effort in that regard, there will be multiplier effects. Education, the same thing. When the federal government is negotiating with ASU, the whole state governors keep quiet. Did you see any of them? But when ASU want to implement it, when ASU is going on strike, who do you blame? You blame the federal government. And meanwhile, the education upon which they are going on strike for poor infrastructure, poor this, poor that, is in the concurrent list. We have almost every state in Nigeria have a state universities with lecturers also going on strike. But federal government carry the full responsibility. Just the way we are blaming federal government for remove subsidy, but if part of subsidy positively, the more revenue coming from as a result of subsidy removal does not go to the federal government alone.
That makes me want to ask you the question of the framework around this renewed agenda. I mean, you are an APC member, apparently. From what you see today and given what you know as an insider, did the APC fundamentally factor in grassroots development when it imagined the renewed agenda? Because it appears to be these sort of, if you like, superstructure federal arrangements. We don't see trickling down. I mean, we don't see that level of leadership at the local government. I mean, we have APC members who lead at the local government. Of course, we have more APC governors than governors from other party. Is there a bottom to top approach to the renewed agenda?
Yes, in this regard, even first of all, we look at the entire system as a party. At the time, we were seeing agitation for restructuring.
Right.
Talking of the structure of Nigeria generally right now. And the APC was the only party that set up a committee headed by a former member of the APC and former 2 times governor of Kaduna State, El-Rufai, to head that committee. And some of the sector by sector restructuring that will bring about so-called to the common man. From resource control to power devolution across critical sectors like energy. You understand?
Right.
Agriculture and all that. Today, we are seeing different players coming to the energy sector to provide electricity. State government are now they now sign MOU with partners to build their own grid instead of national grid, so that you won't be hearing national grid collapse. And when all this begin to come in results, it's going to be affecting the common man directly. So it's a holistic manifesto of the APC. It's not limited to the federal. I just told you now the tractors that we assigned, as the tractors agreement that was signed from Brazil, they are being shared across states. There's no APC poverty. We buy from the same markets. We buy at the same price. There's no APC blood. Nigeria confessed and APC is pro-Nigeria. The Renew Hope and Agenda is about Nigeria. But we needed leadership to strengthen the foundational framework of the economy so that the economy can grow itself out of this poverty we are talking about. It's now less for us as citizenry to now imbibe across all the civil society organizations. They should wake up to begin to question governance, not only at federal level, because the man building the foundation is building it with strong beam. But the people who are going to be fixing, painting, fixing other interiors and what have you, are you watching them? You understand? So that the beam cannot be strong from outside while the inside is rotting.
So everybody must be held accountable.
Exactly, from local government to states.
I want you to throw more light on leadership. For someone listening to you right now, when you said strong leadership, what does that mean?
Strong leadership is having the capacity, the three C's, credibility, capacity, and competence to take decisions that may be on the short run be unpleasant, but on the long run, a visionary leadership that is of tomorrow impact, that transcends generational impact in the positive. We are talking of nation building. Nation building does not need leadership of the now. Nation building needs leadership that is beyond the price of bag of rice.
True.
You understand? Nation building, you are driving, you are providing leadership that is beyond you, that will outlive even your existence as the leader. Chairman Mao of China provided such leadership for to rearrange China for 50 years, operating a closed economic system. After 50 years, the world was looking for China, not China looking for the world. Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore did the same thing. The Indians are doing their own. Malaysians do the same thing. To the extent in the late 70s, they have to be coming to Nigeria to learn about our agricultural potentials, to take seedlings from Benin City. Today, they are the highest producer of palm oil in the world, but they collected their seedlings from Benin City, had exchange programs with us. At the time, Indians were having the same exchange programs on education. Today, they went back, translated education to research and development, concentrated on the big techs. Today, they are one of the biggest players. If Indians in the year, just in the late 80s and 90s, were in my community, not Benin City, going to the same school with Indian children in Our Lady of Fatima College, Auchi. Indians were lecturer in Auchi Polytechnic. You understand? So that is why the president is talking of renewed hope. Such era can be reversed. We can take Nigeria to that era as a starting point. We'll now drive a proper trajectory for the future. Because the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams.
Right. All right, so I think that's a beautiful place to leave it. We're moving from dreams to reality now,
Yes,
if I were to use your word. We'd like to say a big thank you to you as always, for coming on the program this morning. Well, I will continue to follow through with developments within the framework of the Renewed Hope agenda of the APC-led government under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll look at the disturbing number of out-of-school children and what the underpinning factors are. Please stay with us.
New Imo is on the rise. In the beating heart of Owerri, business never sleeps. From sunrise to sundown, the wheels keep turning. And behind the scenes, vision meets action. Governor Hope Uzodima's leadership has left the pages of manifestos to become real actions and achievements. Transformations that piece by piece feels like a miracle. But progress needs peace to thrive. And in Imo, we are not leaving it to chance. From land to sky to river deep, guardians are always watching, protecting dreams and opportunities. If you go to the quiet shore of Orashi Power, you will see the awakening of a hydropower roaring to electrify and energize a blossoming economy. The change is visible. The heartland of the East is under construction as new roads are threading together once forgotten places. Industry is humming again and communities are alive. At the center of it all, a digital revolution is rising. A new ministry with a new mission. Not just cables and codes, but capacity. 500,000 young minds trained each year to build a digital future. And as Orashi Power goes up, so does Imo, lifting with it the hopes of a hard-working people. A new Imo is on the rise.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
All right, time to look at out-of-school children, what the factors are driving the numbers, the reason this large number of children are out of school, what are the implications for society. Some people say crimes, because the idle mind is the devil's workshop, they say, plus what can be done by the authorities, by government, and indeed by society and families to ensure that even if on the long run we are not able to totally eradicate this phenomenon, we're able to cut it down to its very barest. To help us understand this, we're joined this morning by Sarah Yassam. She is head of school, Nawa Nursery and Primary School in Asokoro here in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I'd like to say a big thank you to you, Sarah, for joining us this morning on the program.
All right, Ms. Sarah Yassam, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Now, can you just throw more light? What is meant by out-of-school children? What do we understand by that? You're a head teacher in Aowa, so just tell us what that means.
Thank you once again for having me. When you talk about out-of-school children, it means children of primary age, either primary or secondary school age, who are not enrolled in any formal education at all. It means they've never been to the four walls of the classroom. They've never learned anything. They are just there at home. Especially when you talk about classroom learning. That is what we out of school children.
So it means that they've never been to the four walls of school when it comes to nursery or primary or secondary school?
Yes.
Okay.
It means they've never attended any school at all. They've never been enrolled to school at all.
All right. Now, how many children in Nigeria are currently, would you say, are currently out of school according to the recent data that is ongoing?
According to the research data that is ongoing, precisely according to UNICEF, Nigeria has the highest number of out-of-school children globally. We have over 10 million children, according to that data, not attending school. Nigeria has the highest number of 10 million. I was actually shocked when I saw that figure, but it is true. It's real.
Now, you are a head teacher in the Nigerian Army Officers' Wives Association School in Asokoro. Now, what is the main reason that children are out of school? We know there are so many reasons, but what do you think is a stringent, strong reason? Sometimes, you said there are children who have never seen the four walls of school, but there are some children who actually miss school more frequently than others. But in that regard now, what do you think is the main cause of this problem?
Well, at the head of school, I would say that poverty is number one. The major reason why children are out of school, boils back to the fact that the parents cannot really afford. And poverty is not the only reason. We also have cultural and social barriers. We have some of these parents don't even know the importance of putting children in school. I have had encounters with so many of them, even right now at this jet age. Some people don't understand why the child should be in school. And then we have lack of access to schools. Now, some of them may want to, but there are so many barriers along the line. And we also have conflicts in some of the regions. So where there are conflicts, of course, people run for safety. And the issue of allowing children go to school is out of it. So we have poverty, cultural lack of access to schools, and we have conflicts. These are some of the reasons why children are out of school.
My co-host and I, Uya Bomofuegbe, the one that he did the introducing you on the program, he said something about parents not understanding why education is the key, knowing that education is knowledge, education is power. Do you think most of these parents do not understand why, or the importance of children being in school? Because you see them, they take more priority in the children hawking or doing menial jobs to bring in that income. It doesn't matter how big or how small they are. Do you think they are unaware and understanding the impact on what education can do in the society and to curb the menace of criminality?
You see, like I said earlier, we have some of these are parents who still dwell in the analog age, I would say. They actually engage their children in child labor. And you see, the effect of this child labor at the long run is that these children are not educated. And all they are after is they want these children to just get money for them. They believe, once my child goes to serve somebody, that child can bring in money for the family, and they don't bother. They are not just bothered. They feel even if you don't go to school, you can do something else to get money, and it is really affecting the children these days because we have some of this group. That's why I mentioned cultural barriers, and I also mentioned social barriers. Because some of them are not enlightened, some of them have not had opportunities to even, mix up with other people who are learned. So they don't really understand the impact of not educating their children. And it is a serious problem for us in Nigeria now.
Thank you, Sarah. I want us to look at beyond cultural problems and what have you, can we talk about policy for a second? When we opened the program this morning, Juma and I, we talked a bit about these children who are out of school, beyond the numbers, all right? Can we not have a policy that mandates parents to send their children to school? That is as a response to government having done its part by ensuring that the schools are there in the first instance. The schools have the basic necessities to function as a school in the 21st century. Can we not have such a situation?
I would like to say Nigerian government has done a lot and is still doing a lot. Right now, the Nigerian government has put up so many of these policies, and these policies are meant to actually reduce out-of-school children. I'm going to be mentioning a few of them. You have the UBE, that is the Universal Basic Education. And then this Universal Basic Education makes primary and junior secondary education free and compulsory all across Nigeria as I'm talking to you now. You see, we have some schools within the nation, Nigeria, that are free. The children are just and then you have access to education. The Nigeria government has put up the UBE, that's the Universal Basic Education, and then it has another policy called the NPE, the National Policy on Education. This National Policy on Education sets the vision for free quality basic education and guides this policy at state level to ensure that these policies are being implemented. You know, it's one thing for government to put up policy, but when there is no proper monitoring, it can also affect. But the NPE also has support programs to ensure implementation at level. And then there is this other policy the government also put up recently, at least I'm aware. In fact, one of my sons benefited from it. That's the conditional cash transfers. This cash transfer, includes a lot of other schemes. There are payments that are made to mothers in case those children are not being enrolled. They are made to mothers, and they are basically linked to school attendance, health care of the children, and to break some of these cultural barriers. And let's also talk about the Almajiri integration. This Almajiri integration uses the hybrid curriculum, and that hybrid curriculum includes the Quranic teaching. It also includes literacy and numeracy. So when a child attends the Almajiri school, that child is expected to at least fit into the society. He should be able to communicate and also be able to do plus and minus in case he wants to join the business world. And he will also be able to recite his Quran without any hindrance. Right. So the government has actually done it.
I want us to talk gender for a second about this issue. We understand evidently the out-of-school children phenomenon affects both the boys and the girls. But then I've spoken to experts like yourself in the field of education, and they say we should be a little more concerned about the girl child, which they say is the reason there's so much of emphasis on the girl child education. Can you help our viewers understand that element?
Yes, we said yes, because the way you handle a girl child cannot be the same way you handle a boy child. You see, girls are very sensitive, especially when they get to the teenage age. And one of the ways to handle a girl child, this gender responsiveness, you see, we must understand the makeup of a girl child. And right now, there is something the government is also doing to ensure that girls are carried along, to ensure that there is gender balance. Now, the government has put up what we call this gender responsiveness. We have this program ensures free tuition It also gives scholarship to girls, and like the cash transfer program I earlier mentioned. And then it is targeted at helping these children so that they are not given away in marriage at early age. Because at the end of the day, these children, they encounter a lot of bullying when they get married because they are young. Sometimes they get married, without love. And the government has brought up that initiative to ensure that this girl child is properly monitored. And then one other thing that we can do as a society is to ensure that we get a safe learning space for the girls, because girls are vulnerable. We can create a curriculum that the girls can work with and also help them balance in the society. And then we can get a curriculum that is relevant to their own makeup as girls. And then this curriculum must include life skills, health education, and even vocational training. And of course, before a child can be taught, the teachers are not left out. Teachers' training must be inclusive. These teachers have to learn gender sensitivity, and so programs for teachers to learn gender sensitivity must be put up. And the teachers are also to be trained on how to support children with trauma, because some of bullying, they have experienced issues, they tend to withdraw. So once the teachers are trained properly, we help to support the girl child. And I tell you, we'll have the best in the society.
All right, Ms. Yasim, let us look at areas of insecurity now. Now, how has insecurity played a major factor in the rise of out-of-school children, especially in the northern part of Nigeria?
Wow, insecurity has played a very major role by disrupting the education of children in Nigeria. We have some of the states that presently schools are still shut down in Nigeria. So insecurity leads to school closures. It leads to fear and trauma. When the place is not secured, the parents will not allow their children to move out of their house. This insecurity leads to displacement. A lot of families are being displaced because they can no longer live peacefully in their society. We already know what is happening in Nigeria. We have a lot of issues. So displacement also affects the children. They are out of school. And then there are some areas that they experience targeted attacks. And sometimes the news gets to the villagers or even the dwellers, the city dwellers. So they tend to at least move to a more safe or secure environment. And we also have teacher shortages as a result of insecurity. When the teachers migrate from a particular place, they feel it's not secure. Even at the time the children are ready to go to school, you find out that teachers are not available. So all these factors are as a result of insecurity, and it has a lot of impact on the out-of-school children.
Now, Mrs. Yasim, some years back, this school feeding program started where schools were supported with food to give the children so that at least it will let them. Because there were complaints that the reason why children were not actually going to school is because they were not eating, they were hungry, some were falling asleep. So the government came up with a plan of feeding the children, the feeding structure that came up. With that, yet there's a high rise of out-of-school children. Now, would you say education is really free in Nigeria, or it comes with a lot when it comes to basic materials that parents still need to afford in order for the children to actually stay in school? Or is there something more to it?
Yes. Well, this feeding did not last because COVID-19 came and swept it off. You see, a lot of parents are no longer comfortable when their children eat out, especially, food. Once you don't know who has prepared that food, parents don't allow children to eat. So now we have mandated all the children to come to school with their food. Now, the main reason why parents will still not bring children to school is because the poverty level now is on the high rise. Poverty can significantly affect the chances of children going to school. And this poverty appears in several ways. Now, when the family lacks resources, families may not even have the means to afford school fees. That is one of it. And then there is no how a child will be in school and school fees is not paid. Now, when a family is not able to feed, you don't expect that family to have the means to pay school fees. So some of them are left at home. And then these days, we have a lot of issues coming up as a result of that poverty, like this child labor, health issues. When children are not being fed well, it can result into health issues. A lot of them become very weak. You see they fall ill often, and most times they are not in school. So we have realized now that the major cause why parents are not putting children in school boils down to poverty. And now the government is trying their best, but we still want this kind of programs to come up more frequently so that parents can get aware of the importance of putting children in school, the implications it has on their children's future.
Now, Mrs. Yassim, in your own opinion, what can be done to make education for out-of-school children more attractive and accessible?
As an educationist, I believe we can do more in Nigeria to make education more attractive to children or even the out-of-school children. We can create a mobile classroom at home. And then we can also include the communities. When we go to the grassroots and involve the community leaders, it goes a long way. Because when community collaborates together, there is nothing they cannot achieve. So we can decide to break it down to family by families at the grassroots level, have mobile classrooms, have community collaborate, and then the government can also design that grassroots program. They can also seek international aid to support whatever they are doing right now. I know the nation is very large, and we need support. So international aid is very, very important if we want to achieve all these things we have listed. The government initiatives are very important. Yes, that can go a long way. And we also believe that community-based programs once they are aimed at assessing quality education, it goes a long way because their target will be achieved when they collaborate together.
Okay, let's just the last question now, Sarah. We're saying UNICEF, for example, for a long time has been here working across education, health, and what have you, because at some point there is a connection between both of them. We're seeing agencies of the United Nations on the ground focusing on issues around education in Nigeria, especially up north, where these numbers are far higher. We've seen all of that. Now, can we use that as a basis to quickly talk about the impact of foreign, if you like, intervention in the education system, especially as it has to do with tackling out-of-school children problem?
Yes, UNICEF has done a lot, and I want to say, yeah, we've enjoyed some of these international aids as a nation, because recently some materials were even sent to our own school, and I believe that
I think we've just lost Miss Yassim there.
All right. Audio seems to have cut off all of a sudden. But so far, I think...
oh, okay, she's back now. All right, Ms. Yashim,
please
go ahead.
By all means.
Okay, I think we just lost Ms. Yashim there. Let's quickly go on a very quick break. The program continues shortly. Stay tuned.
The lot to subservience life.
All right, we understand we have our guest back now. So you were making a point about UNICEF and these other multilateral agencies and the impacts they are making regarding our conversation. Please, would you just quickly land on that in 1 minute?
All right, Ms. Yashim, you're back. Can you just land on the point you were making on UNICEF in 1 minute now, because of our time?
Like I said earlier, the UNICEF has done a lot and they've impacted our nation, Nigeria, in the area of education, because a lot of materials have been sent to schools to improve quality of education, to help to improve on the problem-solving skills of our learners. And then these materials are also sent to the grassroots to also boost the government initiative programs for quality education. So I'd like to say with all confidence that UNICEF has impacted our education process in Nigeria positively.
All right, thank you so much, Mrs. Sarah Yashim. She is the head of school, Nigerian Army Officers' Wives Association School in Asokoro, Abuja. Thank you so much for being a part of Global Morning and sharing your wealth of experience when it comes to out-of-school children, Nigeria's education policy in focus. Thank you so much for being a part of the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Have an amazing day ahead. All right, Mr. Uyi, enough wealth of knowledge when it comes to out-of-school children. And, of course, we now understand that it's a major problem because it's really on the rise. Data has shown the level. And, of course, UNICEF, she mentioned the total amount. It has risen to about 20% compared to what it was before. And it's unfortunate. But we hope the needful is being done and government still brings out-of-school children back to school because, hey, education, they say, is the key. And with that, we have to wrap it up on the program Global Morning. Hope you had an amazing time with us today. Join us same time. Global Morning is from Monday to Sundays. And remember, all the opinions of our guests is totally their own opinion. Global Television has no input whatsoever. I am Jumai Manson and my amazing glass-wearing, native-wearing co-host, not the person, Dan.
I'm Uyag Mofwebe. Thank you for watching, and here is wishing you the best of the weekend ahead.
Bye-bye.